Are you struggling with taking too long to build your products and services? In this lesson, we're going to go over minimum viable products for online course teachers. So you're going to be able to make courses, websites, communities, webinars, etc. You're going to be able to make them much faster than before by learning all about MVP. Hi, I'm Angel from RT Course Experts, and we help creative online course teachers with their tech. In this lesson, we're learning all about minimum viable products. We're going to go over what is it, why use it, how to use it. We're going to go over an example on how to apply it to e-learning, and then we'll summarize our top tips. We're going to go over a how-to guide and then an example, and finally we'll summarize all our top tips. First of all, what is minimum viable products with the acronym MVP? Not like in sports. An MVP is a simplified and quickly developed version of a product or service that works and accomplishes the main goal, and it can be improved over time. Now, why would you use an MVP? Well, the benefits of using an MVP is that you get to market quickly, and you're generating revenues quickly only by building what is necessary in stages. So instead of building this massive product or service, you're building that first version that solves a problem that customers will pay for and allows you to get to market and then evolve it over time without you building potentially stuff that customers don't want. Let's get into a how-to guide, and let's go over a couple of key principles to create minimum viable products. First of all, you can validate an idea with a small amount of work and customers. So you don't need a lot of customers. You don't need to put in 2 years to build this ultimate thing. You can basically build a small version with a small number of customers to make sure that people like it. You're onto something. Before you potentially invest, you can use MVP to validate that core principle about your product or service. Often, without MVP, you may get stuck in analysis paralysis. So the MVP approach allows you to create these core features, and that avoids you getting stuck in analysis paralysis. What should I build? How should it look? Multiplied by dozens and dozens of features and documents and resources and benefits. The MVP approach lets you chop up your project so that you just are focused on this one or handful of core products and features or this handful of core features that your prospects need. So with an MVP, you're building only the most valuable features first. You're not building those secondary and tertiary features that may or may not be used by the bulk of the customers. You're identifying what's the most important thing for this product or service, and that's what you're building. That's critical for the largest amount of people, and you're going to make sure you do it well. That's another aspect. The MVP approach also lets you create things with a smaller team. Instead of having an expensive, larger, with just a few people, you can build that core product that you need. And if it works out, you can evolve it to add more advanced things. For example, don't do the fancy video edits, or don't create the ultimate resource guide. Just go ahead and create a Word doc or Google Sheets or Google Slides. Your small team can go ahead and build out that course, that community, that webinar content. You can go ahead and build it out and get that first version out there. If it works, then you go ahead and expand, but you don't go ahead and get stuck building this giant thing, this quote-unquote perfect thing that takes many, many months or years to build. You can go ahead and build a smaller thing that satisfies 80% of what your prospects and customers need. Now, the cool thing about MVP is that you can quickly collect important information about your customers and their uses and their needs, all their different use cases. So you don't have to wait a year plus to build this thing, launch it, and learn that they actually needed this slight variation. With an MVP approach or an agile approach, you can go ahead, give them that first feature, those first couple of essential features, and see if it's helping them and learn from them. You can talk to your audience, talk to your customers, and then with that, you can go ahead and build future things. You're not wasting time or money building stuff that they may or may not be interested in. You're also going to quickly learn about your customer preferences. One of the best things about the minimum viable product approach is that you get to launch things in just a few months instead of a year or more. That saves you money, that saves you time, that helps you learn faster, fail faster so that you can quickly correct and then succeed faster. Instead of building these massive projects that could take a year or more, go ahead and build out that minimum viable. What are those key features, those key benefits that you need in your course or community or on your coaching website? Launch that, get it out there, and start learning, start doing stuff with it, and then you can level up, as opposed to just sort of working in a vacuum for many, many months and not knowing if this is going to work. So this way you can launch, and then you can layer on. If you're doing things well, layer on. If you're not doing things well, you can pivot. The MVP approach also helps you test marketing launch ideas with an existing audience. You can have different ways. Should you use a promotion? Should you do a video? Should you have a webinar? How are you going to promote this? Will you piggyback on a prior thing? Maybe you have your first course and you're going to, at the end of the course, offer a promotion to this new second course. Or at the end of this course, you're going to offer a new community. You can experiment quickly and learn if the flow is working. You can try these different approaches and test out your percentages. How many people click through, how many people actually purchased at, again, it doesn't have to be the ultimate price yet because you don't have the final product. It's your first version. It's your minimum viable product. Maybe it's at a certain price, but at least you get to learn what are the ratios of how your new product or service is going to work. What percentage of people will buy into the upsell? What percentage of people will click through on your future sales page? So you can do all these different experiments. You can even have a very short sales page instead of a giant long page that takes weeks to perfect. You can go ahead and test out. You can do A/B testing. You can do, just forget about it. Drop the A/B testing. You can go ahead and you can do a small sales page and see how that works before you go ahead and build out that really giant sales page with all the details. Or maybe in the future you're going to have two sales pages, an A/B sales, two different sales pages that you use for A/B testing to see which one's better. You don't have to start with A/B testing. That's the whole point. Get that e-learning product out there and test it and go ahead and start learning, and then you can evolve. That's the whole benefit of minimum viable products. Finally, with minimum viable products, you get to fast follow success and failure with requested services and features. You're going to launch this thing, you're going to learn from it, and you're going to hear about stuff. Could you add this, or this thing was missing, this lesson, or hey, could you add this chat room just for this topic, just for this particular design topic? You can receive all that input, you've launched, it's working, and then you can immediately add those extra things. This is great because you didn't build things that your customers may or may not have wanted, because you launched, you have active customers, and they're telling you what you need. Then you can use that input to go ahead and build. Your money is well spent, your time is well spent. That's going to help you succeed as you layer on additional products and services. Now let's check out some examples of using the minimum viable product approach in the e-learning space. So we'll go over a couple of services, and then we'll go over, for each one, we'll talk about what would be a traditional way to build that product or service, and then we'll contrast that with the MVP approach. First of all, let's talk about an online course. So with an online course, you might spend months writing scripts, hours video editing, months making resources, or even you might have this very complex launch event. But with the MVP approach, you might only have 3 to 5 modules. You might use simple Loom videos instead of a more complicated video editing, video recording studio approach. You might not even include resources or a PDF until later. You may not know what to put in those resources. You might just guess at something, or you might just create a one-pager. With an MVP approach for your online course, you might just turn it on and notify your existing audience and skip the giant launch. You'll do the whole launch process and marketing campaigns later if it actually works and it resonates with some of your audience. Let's talk about your online community. Maybe you have a writing community. You might have created a detailed sales page, a very long pictures, you assemble testimonials, all this sort of stuff. But you can't really assemble the testimonials because they're from other stuff. So it's not really authentic. You're struggling to create this ultimate sales page for what you're selling, but you don't have all the details. In a traditional manner, you may have created 20 or more chat rooms of all these different writing topics, how to get a book deal for sci-fi, for kids writing, all these different kinds of writing chat rooms. Again, because maybe you haven't really quite nailed down your exact audience or your exact angle for your writing community. You may also have different pricing tiers because you're just sort of thinking very big of all the different permutations. These are some of the problems that come with designing an online community when you're just going for the giant big boom approach. With an MVP approach, you might just create a simple sales page. You might have 3-4 sections. That's it. What's it about? Here's some frequently asked questions and the pricing. Real simple stuff like that. You might have a really simple sales page. What is the community about? Who are you to run this community? Maybe some frequently asked questions and a pricing plan. And the price of the community. Instead of starting with dozens of chat rooms for different topics and different angles that remember, you got to create engagement and interactivity. You might just start off with a couple of chat rooms, 3 chat rooms, and maybe 1 for support. That just gets your community up and going. You're seeing what people are talking about. And then if you need to, you can add future chat rooms later. Maybe they're not part of your expertise, or maybe they're not aligned with your future sales page. Start off with just a few chat rooms. As an MVP, you're going to start off with 1 simple price plan. It's this price per month. You're not even going to add annual. Maybe later you'll add annual to give them 2 months off if they do this or that. Don't get into that. 1 price. Just get your online writing community launched, or whatever your community is. As a teacher or coach, you may also launch a training webinar. Let's say that you're doing a webinar for audio editors. You may go ahead and you may pay for a fancy template, a fancy design for your slides. That may not be necessary. You can go ahead and use a basic template. You may create 60 slides, an enormous deck, and it may take months to break out every section, when really this webinar for audio editors with 5 slides, that works. You break out your key things, test out the webinar, see who shows up, hear some questions, and then based on that, revise and create future slides or expand or tweak your slides. You can probably launch your webinar with 5 slides. Maybe you have this thick scripted content of what you're going to say for every single slide. But with an MVP approach, you might want to just put your bullets on and wing it. Just talk about this industry. You're an expert, you're talking to your people, you're helping them with different parts of audio editing tools or getting a job or audio editing for a movie, whatever it is that you do. You don't need the thick, detailed scripts. Maybe just a couple of talking points in your notes, and with that, you're off to the races. You don't need to have a scripted slide, a detailed script for every single bullet and every single slide in your webinar. In your training webinar, sure, wouldn't it be cool if you gave a demo of some tools or show them how you create resources or different templates or different examples? In a traditional webinar, you might do demos of different tools and you may have to create some appropriate assets or samples or examples just to get your webinar off the ground, to get flow going, to get some people into your system so that you can pitch them on your different services, your coaching, your community, or your courses. You can just do a freestyle open questions and answers. At the end of your webinar, you do your slides, maybe you show them the screenshot, and at the end you wrap up with a Q&A slide. You literally say questions and answers. Hey everybody, anybody have any questions out there? Jump in. And you're done. You could go ahead and build out your webinar in weeks instead of many months, half a year. The MVP approach has something there, especially when you're testing out something new that you don't know. Go ahead and try an MVP version. Get it out there, start learning, start experimenting, and then you could come back and add more features for all these different secondary benefits that you might want to provide. If you want to level up, launch fast, learn what your students want, and then build the next version. Just keep iterating. Instead of just taking a year building out the ultimate thing that may or may not work, get that thing out the door in 3 months. Learn and then keep adding to it, expand, pivot, etc. Let's summarize. Here are the top things you need to know. MVP, minimum viable product. It basically is all about building a quick version of the main features that your customers need. It's a way to test out, to build things in stages. You're building the most important things first, and then you're getting it out the door. You're learning and you're hearing from your customers about what they want more of, and that's what you build. That's when you grow and you can add more teammates to do a bigger and better product and service. But you do it in stages, because getting stuff out the door is going to help you learn or back off or pivot if you've made a mistake. Now you're a lot smarter on minimum viable products. To learn more, check out the info and links in the notes. If you're loving this stuff, subscribe to keep leveling up your creative business. And if you need any tech help with your courses, community, or teacher website, visit www.rtcourseexperts.com. Thanks for hanging out. Let's stay in touch.